Hello and welcome to the third round of the American Touring Car Championship, and we're live from a very sodden Nürburgring GP circuit, and joining me in the booth today is Mr. Toby Davis.
Hello to everyone, all the viewers that are watching, and it's going to be an interesting race today. We've got quite a close battle up at the top of the leaderboard, with VR leading the championship currently with 177 points from Talborg.
And if the competent Mr. Graphic Designer decides to put it up, thank you, my fault. There we go.
With Keith Barrick in third on 170, so it's very tight at the top of the table. Miguel Neto is still in with a shout. He had a race win last time out, and then I think it was an 8th place or something in the end, and he will look to improve on that, maybe get to first place. We've seen good pace from the person promoted from Server 2, which is Stoffel van Dorn. He's currently leading the timesheet, so be interesting to see how he does. In the teams championship, it's a little bit different, isn't it, Ryan?
Yes, still the usual suspects at the front of the table, though, as you would expect. FDR Camden, which is Barrick and Talborg, leading the way narrowly from Team Portugal 1, which is VR and NATO. Looking forward to a race, season-long battle really there. Team Portugal 2 and BAU Relentless can really push on. They may be able to press for the title, but it seems like a two-horse race at the moment, doesn't it? And of course, Flying Dutchman Development is suffering without the presence of Alexander Lauritsen, just Braham holding that fort by himself at the moment. So, on to the racing. Into the circle we go. And as we were saying, it's Stoffel van Dorn who's been easily... Look at that, like a 13.8, Toby. How on earth has he done that? 13.8. I've not seen anybody in the 13s at any point whatsoever. Not last year, not this year. That's the first time we've seen anybody that fast. And Stoffel van Dorn is certainly very, very fast at the moment. 13.857. Miguel Neto some 7/10 back in second position. And Stoffel van Dorn is the driver who disconnected in warm-up for the Road America event, came back to do Watkins Glen in Server 2, won both races, earned him his position back in Server 1, which was no mean feat because he only just scraped him even those 2 wins. And he's obviously doing very well here as well. Who's your favourite for... there's Michael Carver. He just moved up to Server 1 also as well. So Michael and Stoffel are the 2 new faces. And Stoffel, it couldn't be more contrast really. Stoffel is a young hotshot who's new to the series, and Michael is one of the old stalwarts of the ATCC and has been around ever since the first race. In fact, he's the only driver, along with Keith Barrick, who Keith doesn't really count too much because he had a glitch at one of the races, but Michael Carver is the only driver to have done every single ATCC race. So, showing that longevity is one of his strengths.
It's nice that you get guys that are involved in series like this over such a long period of time. That continuity that you get that really makes the series what it is. And the ATCC benefits deeply from having a variety of drivers from all over the world. It's an American Touring Car Championship only in name and time zone, really. You get a lot of drivers from Portugal, for example.
Absolutely, yeah.
And all over Europe, and a lot of viewers as well who stay up to watch this as well. So it really is a global championship, and obviously we're demonstrating that today, being from Nürburgring.
We are indeed. This is one of the overseas races this season. We've got a couple of overseas. We've got 3 overseas races this season. We only had 2 last year. We've got the Nürburgring, Adelaide, and Vitus Park. This is the first of the overseas races. After this, we go straight to the KW Super Speedway, which is next week, by the way. Just to remind people, next week we go to KW Super Speedway, which is also another one of those tracks that we always visit in the ATCC. It'll be the 4th visit there, and everyone might turn their nose up at the oval racing, but it is close, hard, fast racing, and we love to watch it, really.
It is a completely different style of racing, of course. It's almost flat out all the way round, just turning left. It's one of the favourite things that Americans do. Challenge for the drivers, and it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But that's next week, and today we're in the wet and we're at Nürburgring, and it's exactly the same weather conditions that we had last season, so the times are comparative. Pole position last season was let's bring that information up. The pole last season was a 2:14.2, so it'll be interesting to see with the new cars that we have this season whether that time will be beaten.
So call it, Toby. Who's going to get pole?
Well, I mean, we saw Nato take pole last time out, and whether he'll be able to replicate that this time, I don't know. Stoffel van Dorn has looked very impressive indeed with his 13.8. That's a good. It's
ridiculous that man, quite frankly.
I know, yeah, and that's not even in qualifying, where the track is at its best. So
And here is that Belgian drive now. Driven in the FSR, he's had a couple of pole positions, a couple of fastest laps as well, but never actually finished a race in the FSR. And never actually finished a race in the ATCC Server 1 yet, because he hasn't started one, unfortunately. And this is his first opportunity. He's going to make sure he keeps within the confines of the track, of course. And as he makes his way through the S's here, around on his out lap. I mean, how do you approach these out laps, Toby? Do you try to warm the tyres aggressively, or do you just try to conserve the tyres, or do you go out and test how much grip is actually there?
Well, having done a wet race, just last time out in the WTM.
Just keep talking while I do this. Sorry to the viewers.
No problem. Having done the wet race last time out at Potrero, you've got to test where the grip actually is, and where the time can be found using different lines and so on. And it is a different challenge from driving in the dry. You've got to take different lines, and drivers will be searching for those extra tenths of grip, not necessarily from the racing line. It's you'll see Van Dorn perhaps using unusual lines, searching for that best line through a corner. And obviously there's the potential that the racing line will be drying out. Perhaps the rain looks like it's going to be constant throughout the race. But if that changes, then obviously drivers will be changing their lines to suit.
Absolutely, and of course, within different lines, we can also see some good racing as well. But often what happens in wet races is that people get a bit strung out because they're all a bit cautious, don't actually want to get stuck in because the conditions aren't quite as familiar. So sometimes we find that wet races aren't quite as exciting as dry races. And of course, the conqueror in the wet race at Potrero on Wednesday, William Levesque, is in Server 2 here because he started the championship late. It'll be interesting to see how he's in the wet once again in that server. We're in Server 1, of course, for this action, and Van Dorn is travelling around the circuit at some pace, faster than anybody else so far in all of the practice sessions. Let's see if he can produce it when it really matters.
It's been a pretty good lap so far. He's managed to hit every apex, and he hasn't slid wide like you'd expect in the wet. You can make a small error and it sends you much further wide than it would in the dry. And Stoffel putting together a pretty good lap so far. Let's see if he can make it once he gets through the second sector.
That's an interesting line, though. He pushes hard in the first part of that complex, and then goes narrow for the second part. Some people have different lines through there. Some people go wide, go slow through the entry, and then take the exit. So he's obviously preferring the entry line and sorting it out middle of the corner.
I remember watching an interview David Coulthard was having with Paul de Resta when they were doing a track walk around the Nürburgring, and he was saying that you can go really quite quickly through the first part, and it doesn't really compromise you too much because that extra speed is actually worth it. And Stoffel obviously using that particular technique, but I'm not sure I would necessarily take advice of David Coulthard about everything, but there we go.
Well,
that is well wide onto the curbs there. That's nice and aggressive.
He was very aggressive. He was pushing hard at this lap. Although I'm sure David Coulthard is still a better driver than both of us, Toby. So
of course.
We've got to take the advice on that occasion.
Multiple race winner and one in Monaco as well. So
I'm not sure he's a better commentator than me, but there you go. That's not a slight on me. That's more of a slight on him. And Stoffel Van Dorn bumps over the curbs. See how the curbs are settled at BMW through there. That's where they really struggle because they can't put the power down. Have to wait until the car settles, then put the power down. Whereas the front wheel drives can pull their way out of the bump. Always a bit wide at the final corner as well, pushing hard. So now he drives towards the line. He's going to be the first to settle lap time. It's going to be a 14. What is it though? It's a 14.287. In fact, Yuri Braham was the first to settle lap time. 14.442. That is showing some pace from Yuri because he's not shown any of that sort of pace earlier in the sessions. Jesper Tolborg is on a flyer. He's up just under a tenth after sector 2. Bumps over the curb. Look how much more settled the front-wheel drive cars are through those curves. Third, Reggie Blaine. Fourth, Padre Amaral. Sixth is Isles. Seventh is Wood. Drivers getting the laps in quickly. And here comes Jesper. Wider from the apex, but kept a nice flowing line, it seems. What's got to the line? 14.416 goes second on the front row, but not beating Van Dorn.
It's interesting that lots of drivers popping up into the top 8, but times being beaten all the time. It'll be interesting to see if Keith Barrick is on a lap, because he was looking promising in in practice.
Here's NATO. NATO 14.442. Wow, that's close between second, third and fourth, all within the same tenth. Caiado back in 14th. Caiado back in 14th. He won last time out at Watkins Glen, remember. So it's not gone well for him. Who else is out of track? Just scroll through the field for you here. 18 drivers already set a lap time. 4 minutes to go here. Keith Barrick has set off on his lap time. Just show you the front of the field once again. There you go. 14.416, 14.442 and 14.442 for both NATO and Braham. Unbelievable stuff on the second row.
Wonder how that works
14.5.
How does that work out? That how is NATO? It must be rounded on the times.
They do. In race, they actually, I think they do it to four digits rather than three that it shows, and it's rounded up and rounded down.
Okay, there
so
we
I'm
go.
presuming NATO is something like a 10,000th faster than Yuri Braham.
That's crazy. You saw Keith going through there. We were just talking about Stoffels' line. Keith using the slower first part, quicker second part technique. So a different style. Look, he's purple as well. Working.
It's 0.009 up. What if it's different techniques in different configurations? Because he's got a front-wheel drive car, of course, which is very different to how the BMW drives. And maybe he needs the extra turning space because of the understeer, natural understeer that a front-wheel drive car has. And the rear-wheel drive car is able just to just put the power down slightly and get the car turned in.
Keith was pushing very hard indeed through the Schumacher S then. He was all over the curbs. He's all over the curbs once again.
Looks very settled, the car, doesn't it? Looks very settled indeed. He's been very annoyed because he gave his setup to Jesper Torborg, and Jesper's been smoking him with it. So let's see what he can come back at with. And he's 0.142 down. So a little bit untidy.
Just in second, I think.
It will do, yep. Oh, that's going to be close, wasn't it?
0.412.
In fact, actually, wouldn't be good enough. It wouldn't be good enough.
Going to have an excellent chicane here.
Yes,
look at the whip as he turns in.
Yes, but was very cautious through there. He didn't use much of the curb at all. I think it cost him pole position, you know. So let's see what Keith has got. Yes, was quite wide here at the final corner as well. Didn't hook the inside. Keith is hooking the inside. A very nice line indeed. What has he got? Carl wiggling around as he puts the power down. Squirming under the power. Keith drives toward the line. 14.426. Oh, look at that. He can't do it. He's 1/100th of a second behind his teammate Jesper Torborg. But he splits Torborg and NATO. And there is just 0.026 of a second between second and fifth.
That's absolutely crazy.
Over a 2-minute 14 lap.
Gary Lennon going for the glory at the end and making sure he gets his name on the broadcast. Jaminet hasn't set a time either.
Jaminet's not even going to set a time. Not got time to set a time now. Lasky's out on track. And Marco Carver. So Lasky and Barrick are left. Lasky got a podium last time out at Watkins Glen. Also infamously took out his stablemate Vincent Kahn, which earned him a lot of ire from the spectators. People feeling very sorry for Vincent Kahn lately, so let's see how well he can do. Where is Vincent Kahn in the field? He's 16th, so he would not be pleased with that. I don't think the Volvo is particularly fast in the wet. Lasky some half a second down as he heads through the second sector. That will put him around about 7th or 8th if he keeps the speed up and matches Van Dorn in the final sector, which of course is quite difficult to do, it seems, as people have been demonstrating.
Keith Barrick's final sector was actually slightly quicker than Van Dorn's, and it was in the final sector is all about the chicane and the final corner. It's only really two corners.
It was a tiny amount, wasn't it? 0.142 he was down,
yeah,
and he's 0.139.
Yeah, so it was quicker than just. Lasky crossed the line.
12th Lasky, he will not be particularly pleased with that.
4/10 in the final sector, wow.
Considering Hondas that are ahead of him, considering the two Hondas at the front of the field, Torborg and Barrick, and Braham as well, of course, second, third and fifth.
It's difficult to say where he lost 4/10 actually. He didn't seem to make a massive mistake through the final sector.
And Lennon should still be out back as well. We're going to miss Lennon. No, we're not. Here he is, final corner. Doesn't look particularly fast. He's already in the 12s as he gets to the edge of the curb. That's going to be a slow lap here from Garrick, 15.9, 19th. So Garrick's going to face a charge through the field once again. He does this so many times. Vincent Kahn back in 17th. 18th, Andre Caiado, Toby, coming off his win in race 2 at Watkins Glen. He comes here and qualifies 18th. Talk about a fall from grace. He'll not be pleased with that at all.
He will have Vincent Kahn to help him through the field. If those two work together and don't end up in a battle early on, then they should be able to make progress, because
Caiado does like his battle, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he does, but they have got a few drivers that they'd expect to be ahead of.
And here's a contrast. Here's a contrast. 22nd is Swiderski. 24th is Jaminet. First, Van Dorn. All in the same car.
Yep.
And there is Van Dorn. There is our pole sitter even. And now we're going to the next session. And this is just warm up. 5 minutes we go here. Well, how do you sum up that qualifying session there, Toby? Incredibly close at the front of the field.
It was. Van Dorn was always the favourite. He hasn't actually. I don't think he's actually beaten the pole time from last season.
2:07. It's pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's a 2:87, isn't it, from Van Dorn?
So it looks like a 0. It's a 2:87. Sorry, it looks like a 0 from what I'm looking at right now.
I think it was like a 2:5 or something last season. So it's got very close. It shows how comparative these cars are to the last set of cars we were using. Interesting that Talbot and Barrick are both up there, so they'll be pleased with that. NATO sniffing around as well. I don't know how quick NATO is in the wet, really. He's such an inconsistent driver that you can never quite predict. But he'll be happy with 4th, and Graham will be happy with 5th as well. That's good qualifying from him. Expect Via to perhaps be a little bit disappointed with that, considering his current championship standing.
Well, he says he's been struggling in the wet with this BMW. Obviously, Van Dorn's managed to figure it out, but VR says he's been struggling. He says he wasn't going for pole position at all. In fact, VR is actually racing in England for the very first time at the moment. He's not racing from Portugal. He's in England. He's doing his master's degree in sports management at London Metropolitan, and he's got all his stuff set up in England for the first time. In fact, you know, his pedals came loose at the at Watkins Glen, and his whole steering wheel came loose because he was using his dad's in Portugal.
Wow.
So I think we should get his dad racing as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it sounds like his dad's quite interested in sim racing. I wonder how quick he is. Certainly, I know my family members aren't brilliant.
Ben, what are you talking about? Ben's really, really good.
Oh, he's amazing, yeah. I only lapped him several times recently. It hasn't gone well, that. We won't talk about that.
No. What happened last time you lapped him at Nürburgring?
I span.
And what happened last time you lapped him at Potrero?
I span, and that was more impressive of a spin, actually, because he managed to hit me.
You were a broadside across the track. It wasn't really his particular fault.
I know.
Poor bloke.
I know. He's been ill recently as well. He's had a bit of a cold and a bit of tonsillitis. So.
Yeah, everyone's ill at the moment. It's just, you need to man up, all of you, even the girls.
Yeah, I remember in season 2 of WTM you were quite ill, weren't you? And had a bit of a commentating spell with a dodgy voice. There are some highlights up actually on YouTube. If you want to hear Ryan Callan with a dodgy voice, then head over to our TouringProSeries YouTube channel.
I think Salzburgring is the worst. Listening to that back is actually really quite painful. But the fastest lap in the race last year was a 15.6 from Diogo Lopez. Coming back to the actual subject we're talking about, 15.6 from Diogo Lopez, and a 14.266 was the pole position. So yes, Van Dorn is just slightly below that, 0.02 of a second. So, but comparable to last year because it was 14.4 on second row, but then it dropped away quite quickly. We've got that 15.0 in 6th, for example, and a 15.0 puts you in 10th in this field. So the standard has definitely improved quite considerably. 14.7 would have put you 3rd, and it puts you 7th this time around. So it shows how close it is. 8th place, Reggie Blaine. That's a great qualifying for him because he's been struggling lately, hasn't he? And that's he hasn't
been struggling. I just don't think he's had quite the luck. I think he messed up his qualifying last time out as well a little bit. So he'll be happy to be in the top 10. Gives him being in 8th. It gives him a good shot of getting into the reverse grid.
It does indeed, because of course being in that top 8 is so crucial. Once you drop out the top 8, it's a struggle all the way through, isn't it?
Yeah. A reminder that the grid is reversed from 8th to 1st, obviously. And so if you finish 8th in race 1, you end up on pole for race 2. So being in that top 8 is where you want to be.
And we got Domingo Vass in 10th and Amaral in 9th. Vass will be pleased with that as well. 11th Nelson, 12th Lasky. Lasky a little bit disappointed with that. 13th at Lucchese. He'll be a little bit disappointed also. Maybe slightly disappointed. Hugo Barbosa in 14th. Elio Lucchese in 15th. And we got Duarte Lopez in 16th. Look how close it is in there as well. 546, 575 and 576. 15th and 17th. So you improve by a 10th. You go up several positions on the grid. And Vincent Kahn there in 17th. He'll be quite disappointed with that. But we've got some fast guys at the back, haven't we, Toby? We've got Kahn, Kaido, not that the drivers ahead aren't fast, but the drivers who usually get more towards the podium end of the field, Kahn, Kaido and Lennon. We'll look for them to come through the field. 20th is Isles, 21st is Paul Wood, and 22nd is Darius Widerski. Looks like those two made perhaps a mistake on their laps, 17s for them.
Yeah, it sounds like they ran wide or something.
And perhaps Michael Carver did so as well. 23rd, Michael Carver. 24th, Matthew Jaminet. Michael's been called up to the server at the last second. We've got 20 seconds to go until the race and the formation lap. Predictions, Toby?
You'd have to say, based on his pace, that Stoffel Van Dorn looks good for the win. But whether he can, in the BMW, whether he can do that consistent pace for the entire race is a different story, because obviously it's rear-wheel drive. It's much more difficult to control in the wet. I don't doubt that he's got the talent to do so, but it's easier to make a small error. And as we've seen before, the pace at the front of the field, it's all been very close in the last few races. It's all been very tight, apart from when NATO walked away with it at Watkins Glen, of course. But it's been very tight usually. And if you make a small error, which is possible in a BMW in the wet, then he might drop a few positions. It'll all be about the start, as per usual.
Yeah, more than likely, of course. We've got a formation lap here with a rolling start, so it gives a little bit less advantage to the BMWs than is normal, although they still get the advantage because they are able to put their power down a little bit easier than the front-wheel drive cars, even at around about 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. And we are now in the race session. We are about to go racing. It's about 2 minutes before we do so, of course, and then we have the formation lap, and then we'll get going. So plenty of time for the adrenaline to build for the drivers. And different drivers approach this in a different way. Let's just go on track and then go back out of track. And different drivers approach this in different ways. I'm not sure. I think I like a formation lap more than I don't, because of the tension I often feel after qualifying. Channels straight forward into the race. I like to have a bit of a cool down period, so where you just get calm and you're able to think clearly. I remember always in GT Legends races, you've just done a qualifying and it goes straight. There's no warm up. It goes straight to the race, and there's 30 seconds in the race. So if you've just done a final flying lap, and you've just got pole position, you're still pumping with adrenaline. Get 30 seconds to calm down, and I can't do it.
No, I'm the same. I panic far too easily about certain things. And a formation lap does help settle the nerves as well. It helps you reacquaint yourself with the track. I find if you're just sitting on the grid, you're focusing on the start. You should have. Sometimes it's difficult to remember exactly how the first sequence of corners exactly goes, and especially when you're racing with other people. That's why I think you see a lot of people out braking themselves into turn one. Sometimes they just along with the cold brakes and tyres, it's just sort of forgetting exactly where you are and what you're doing, and it's good to focus your mind.
You talk about turn one, Toby, and turn one here, narrow, hairpin, downhill, big braking zone, a danger area, isn't it?
Coupled with rain, and it sounds like a recipe for disaster actually. But they managed to get through it last race. Rough on the formation lap, but these guys are good enough to get through there, hopefully unscathed. Already people warming their tyres as well.
Yeah, just at the back of the field, on board with Matthew Jaminet, watching Marcus Swiderski. There is Michael Carver on his left, getting up to speed, giving Michael Carver's back of his car a bit of a shakedown, letting Michael Carver know that I'm coming through in a formation lap, mate.
11 laps then, so everyone knows exactly what they've got to do for the next 11 laps. They'll already have their strategies planned out in their head, and they'll be thinking about what lap they want
so close, watch you. Calm yourself down at the back there, boys. And there's Swiderski and Hallwood. Just ahead of him is Robert Isles. The two Terra Australis cars hunting together as per usual. Often see them together, don't we, Toby?
Yeah, and it's lucky they're in different cars, because identical liveries, and we'd have no hope.
Absolutely. I still forget all the time. I always have to remember myself that Robert's in the Honda. He's got good taste, obviously. The Honda's better than the Seat. Stupid. Ugly Seat.
I prefer the look of the Seat, really.
Oh, you've got no taste. 18th is Vincent Kahn with
that's an ugly car, let's be honest.
He's got the trademark yellow windows of Vincent Kahn. He's had them since season 2, I believe, when he first started racing. Maybe season 1. I can't remember if it was in season 1 actually. I apologise if I remember that. He was in season 1, yes. He's always had yellow windows. It's one of his trademarks. And Kaido is. Oh, where have we gone? There's Kaido. No, that's not Kaido. There we are. There's Kaido. Sorry about that. Pressing too many buttons. Kaido, there he is. He's way back in the field. I'm going to look for him to charge through. But we know how aggressive he is, Toby. I think he's going to get in trouble. Do you?
I don't want to put my neck out quite that strongly. It must be depressing for him to look in front of him and see a lot of cars and
17
think,
cars in front of him,
and just thinking to himself, I've been up the front before, I want to get through these cars as quick as possible, and it's that kind of mentality that does get you in trouble. I'm better than you, get out of my way. Not that I'm saying that's what he's thinking right now, but it's certainly something that might go through my head.
Yeah.
Well, I hate Superpole. Absolutely hate Superpole.
I was racing with Keith in Skodas at Road Atlanta, and I was screaming down the microphone at Keith, "Get out of my way! I'm so much better than you!" And it's true. You just get angry and upset. I still get told off for saying that now, but it was true at the time.
Yeah.
Let's see the case there in 13th.
Who had a great run, by the way, at Watkins Glen. And,
he did. Until he decided not to do the pit stop properly and came across Yuri Braham.
I still feel sorry for him because he had such a great run. See whether he can.
Only himself to blame. As we go Lasky, Nelson, Vath, Amaral. And we go Blaine, Gonsalves, VR, Braham, Nato, Barrick, Torborg and Van Dorn. They're coming towards the final corner now. This is the first time Van Dorn has led the field around the formation lap. How will he handle it? Will he break the regulations? Will he go too fast? Will he go too slow? Will he go too early? Or will he just get an excellent start? The Belgian now comes towards the line. The whole field streaming through, as you can see. And he crossed the line and away. That's a good start from Van Dorn. Very good indeed. He's already away from Jesper Torborg, who seems to struggle there for some grip, because Barrick has already got a run on Torborg as well. Down towards the first corner. Van Dorn's clear. Van Dorn's well clear. Goes to the middle of the road just in case someone decides to make a dive down the inside. But Torborg is second. Oh, Van Dorn going very wide there, but he's fine. Third place is Barrick. Fourth is Nato. Alongside him is VR. Contact there between the two. VR is pushed ever so slightly wide. VR's got past Braham. Look at the sideways movement there from the BMW. Braham in behind. Amaral also there. Gonsalves is still in 8th. And Amaral has had a good start here. Further back in the field, we've got people battling all the way down. Blaine, Vath, Nelson, Lucchese. As we watch, looks like that was Lasky there running wide. And there is Blaine still. He's in 9th, so he's lost one position off the grid. But a good start there from Van Dorn.
Excellent start for Van Dorn. He did exactly what he needed to do and got a little bit of a jump on the Candem boys behind him. And they were squabbling a little bit into turn 1. Looks like Talbot came out on top, and he's now got Nato and Via all over behind him. Nato looking like he wants to make a way through. He's running a little bit wide, don't do that. And Via will come through. Yeah, Barrick on board. So Barrick did. Talbot got the better of him into turn 1, and those two will now have to work together to fend off from the Portuguese drivers behind them.
Really well over the curbs there. Try not to hit the gravel, of course, which slows you right down. Look at the spray coming off the cars also as well. It's very difficult if you're back in the pack. I don't envy those drivers in 15th and 16th. They can't see anything ahead of them. And look at Nato sideways in the wet as he is in the dry.
He's looking quite strong actually, Nato. He's hanging onto the back of the Hondas quite well. And it'll be interesting to see. There's quite a big gap behind. Look at this battle behind Yuri Braham.
Look at this battle. We've got Amaral, Gonsalves, Blaine. Very, very close indeed. We know Blaine does not give or receive any quarter or expect it to either. Almost 3 wide there as Vath tries to get involved also as well. Into the chicane they come. Vath has a little look at Blaine. Contact there. Blaine gets a little bit of a tap. Vath is slowed up. Also Nelson trying to get in there as well. But in the end, they all come through and nobody actually gains or loses any position. But Alessio up the inside of Nelson, not quite going to do it. In fact, you have to be careful not to hit the inside pit wall there. I've done that a couple of times in my time. And now Alessio's under attack here from Mr. Lasky. Lasky's in 13th, actually gained quite a few positions off the grid. 15th is Kaido, 14th is Khan. So those drivers we thought would come through the field are doing so. And further up we can see people defending, people attacking, and Alessio's got up the inside of Nelson. He's taken the position. Did it a second time of asking. So that's Alessio to 11th.
Yeah, he got the run out the final corner, managed to get in the slipstream, and then ducked out and went up the inside into turn 1. Textbook manoeuvre and takes the position away. And it's good to see that Khan and Kayado, for their benefit anyway, have got a couple of positions. They'll be looking to make some progress early on. Talbot is actually gapping Barrick a little bit in the front of the field, and Nato has dropped back a little bit. But you can see that Via's made up a position off the start, and Amaral's made up 2. So those are the winners and losers in the top 8. And Khan and Kayado made 3 positions up, as you would expect, to be honest, Ryan.
I think Khan has just gone past Kayado again, because I'm sure Kayado was ahead of Khan just a couple of laps ago. So position change there as the two fast drivers at the back of the field tried to make their way through. And of course now Blaine's at the head of this train, trying to battle along. Gonsalves has dropped Blaine completely. Look at that. Who's that gained 4 positions at the back of the field? That's Jaminet gained 4 positions already. And Michael Carver and Duarte Lopez have dropped to the back as they steam across the Schumacher S. This is Schumacher S, isn't it? I'm getting it right.
Yeah,
it's Schumacher S now, anyway.
Yeah.
I said it is, so therefore it is.
It was renamed. It was renamed when he retired, and then he came back into F1.
Never mind.
So Vince Khan needs to make some more progress here. He's going to get stuck in this train very quickly. Lucchese's got a little bit of a run here. It's whether he can make the move. He's going to the outside.
Spinkoff Vath is defending. He's almost attacking as well. Up the inside he almost went, and now Lucchese is looking very racing indeed. Looks like he wants to get past all these drivers ahead of him. Vath had a very good qualifying for him, and he'll be pleased with it so far. Fastest lap of the race so far, Van Dorn 14.9. It already beats the fastest lap of last year, was a 15.6. So that's smoked the fastest lap of last year. He got almost a 2-second lead over the reigning champion, no less even. And Tolberg was the fastest driver here actually last year, but didn't take very good results because of a mix-up in the pits. Look out for that as well. People will have forgotten to put wet tyres in their pit preset. I can guarantee that right now, and they will put slicks on. And Elliot running very wide. Sorry to interrupt, but Nelson coming through also as well. Oh, that's Lennon, coming through, because Nelson's a bit further up. So Lennon's in the grey Honda with the Aerospeed skin, whereas Nelson, as you can see, is more of a white skin, so that's how the viewers can identify those guys. And just ahead, we've got Blaine and Vath battling once again, and of course you see once again with Blaine, he always gives you just a car width.
He's squeezing him right to the edge of the track there, perfectly legal. You've got to leave that car width. Try to go at the inside, that's not going to work.
And Alessio almost got involved there as well, and now Nelson's going to take advantage of that. Nelson coming back at Alessio, down towards the heaven they come. No, he can't do it. The Cruise gets it power down and manages to pull away down the straight. Very nice indeed. I'll be pleased with that. It's always nice to have a bit of a good power plant under your feet, as you would know, Toby.
Yeah, it's nice to have that little bit of extra top speed advantage. Always means you can have a bit of a more racy setup rather than a sort of a defensive, protected tyre setup, because you know you can sort of defend and deal with the more extreme tyre wear than perhaps other people can, and that's obviously what he's trying to do here.
And this battle group is getting larger, look, because as you were saying earlier, Khan and Caiado have got caught up to the back of it, as we would expect. There they come. So we've got, this is battle for 9th position, and Jaminet is out of the race. Jaminet out of the race with suspension damage. There he is. Oh, dearie me. He's destroyed the front of that BMW. Absolutely destroyed it. Look at that.
I wonder if he's done that into the pit. No, I don't know.
They haven't made it that far, surely.
This is where you want replays in race.
Unfortunately, we don't have them, so we just have to speculate for now. No other drivers seem to be involved. Maybe Duarte Lopez has got some damage on the front of his car, as you can see.
Yeah, but he was already at the back of the field.
He was
indeed. Was in front of him, so unless Jaminet spun.
Swiderski into the pits. Always pits early. Reminder, we've got 11 laps here. More people into the pits also as well.
Paul Wood.
Any of the leaders in the pits. Oh, Alessio Lucchese is into the pits, as is Domingos Vath. This will be interesting because these came in quite close together. It's like that wasn't the greatest stop, people pitting inside each other. Let's view somebody else, shall we? Vath is already away, and Lucchese's away as well. Maybe I think Vath has made a gain there, you know.
So do I. I think Lucchese was at least onto the back of him, if not ahead.
Looks like very slow coming to a stop there for Alessio Lucchese. So maybe that's what's cost him. But at the front of the field,
2.2 seconds Van Dorn over Tauberg. He's absolutely running away with this.
Absolutely. Lap 5 already we're on to. Gone very quickly, hasn't it, Toby? Lap 5 already.
Yeah.
And Van Dorn is looking supreme at the front of the field, and I can't see anybody heading him without a mistake from himself.
Barrett, NATO and Biar are quite close.
3.3 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, it's just huge,
wow.
Isn't it? There's a battle
going
on here.
There's a battle now. NATO and Braham, and VR and Braham, sorry. So we've got the usual suspects at the front of the field, the top 6, widely considered the top 6 drivers in the championship. Always there or thereabouts. And these 6 are very close together indeed. Well, I say these 6, these 5 are very close together indeed, because the guy ahead of the field is way away from this battle, and the gap as he crossed sector 2, well, let's let you know now, is going to be still 3.3 seconds, but Barrick and Nato have lost ground, and Barrick is coming under increasing pressure from Miguel Nato, his old sparring partner. They came to blows.
Here he comes.
Oh, Nato had a little bit of a look, a little bit of a wiggle there from Barrick as he gets contact with any of these pits. What do we think? Barrick's in. Barrick is in. VR is in. Braham's in also as well. Nato carries on. So this will be interesting. Interesting pit battle here between between Braham and VR. Who's going to come out on top?
This will be interesting as well, because Talbot stayed out, and so has Nato. So it'll be interesting to see if they get jumped. You can see is
it just me, or did VR gain ground on Barrick there?
Looked like it on the entrance to the pit lane. Wonder if that'll play out. We'll see it once they exit the pit lane, and it'll be interesting to see, as I was saying, that Nato and where Nato and Talbot will end up, because they've got to pit the next time round. It's only 11 laps.
They're all pouring in. Look at this, and Barrick is ahead. Oh, it's very close indeed. I'm pretty sure there is some gains there for VR, and VR challenging Barrick immediately out of the pits. Of course, the traction from the BMW getting him in great purpose off the slow speed, and Keith was weaving one way or the other, couldn't decide which way to go, eventually chose the inside, and VR was not able to make his way through. So that was a tense time there for Keith. He almost got mugged on the exit.
It was a bit naughty there, was Barrick. He was weaved one way, then weaved the other way, and then eventually chose to go to the right, and VR was already committed, and I think there was a little bit of contact.
You expect it out of the pit, you just expect it all to be status quo, but VR was well on the ball, and he's charging now in behind Barrick. And
Braham's very close as well, so these three have tightened up for sure.
Well, I think Braham's definitely lost ground to VR, of course. He was right behind him.
Well, yes, but they
were... look at Braham! Oh. Sideways there into the front wheel just would not grip. They drifted, and then of course the back end came out as well. He was just about to hold it. It looked spectacular.
It's just too much entry speed by about 5 miles an hour, it looks like.
Of course, the balance of the cars is so much different now. You probably only changed the front wheel drive, the front tyres, unless he's not changed the right tyres, because he's actually dropping back a little bit from this battle. But it seems like Keith has got going quicker than VR has for actual lap speed, and so it was important that he stayed ahead, and he did just about do that, and just about legal. I think it was very marginal.
It was very, very tight. It was one of those where it was completely down to the spray and getting surprised by it, but he was definitely one way or another. This will be interesting. Van Dorn in the pits, but he's got a big gap over Talbot, but it's interesting to see where Talbot and Nato come out now.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is where Nato comes out, because there was about a second gap between Talbot and Barrick before they entered the pits, but there was Nato and VR and Barrick and Braham who were very, very close. And into the pits comes Amaral, into the pits comes Gonsalves, 6th, Lasky 7th Khan. So everybody's pitted now. Everybody is pitted now. And this will be interesting to see where Lasky and Khan come out, because they were involved in that big battle for 9th place, remember. So that will be interesting also as well. But Van Dorn is in the pits and already left the pits. How much of a big lead he has. 4.2 seconds he has over Torborg. Managed to gain 0.4 in the final sector and coming to the pits as well. Nato here. Oh, and Keith Barrick
here we go.
Here's Keith. He's going to overtake them, no doubt about that. He's going to overtake Nato.
And VR on Nato.
He's got a big gap, and VR on Nato in behind. Very close indeed. Contact there between the two. Nato just about holding off, but VR's got the inside for turn 2. He's got the inside. He's going to squeeze across maybe, but he's being very courteous towards his teammate, squeezing him onto the curb, trying to keep the BMW in check also as well. He's sideways. Nato and VR side by side. VR's through. VR's got it, and that's important. And VR cuts right across the curb in there, trying to keep the car in check as he takes a tighter line, tries to get Nato some room. But that's important. VR is ahead of Nato, and Barrick is closer to Torborg.
That is very important for VR. He's got the championship lead at the moment. He'll want to keep it. Van Dorn's not really in the championship hunt, so they won't be too worried about him. It's really from second down.
But VR and Nato very close off that corner there. Sorry to interrupt, Toby. But it looked like Nato almost got the overlap. 4 seconds is the gap between Torborg and Van Dorn now, so this is Van Dorn's race, very much to lose.
Van Dorn, I don't think, will be touched from now on. He's got 4 laps left. So close in behind. It's the better traction from the BMW, letting him down a little bit there. Nato right in behind him. And he's got the slipstream as well.
Gravel as well. and NATO's pressuring VR. This is so close. Great battling between the Team Portugal guys, but the problem is allowing the FDR Candem guys, Torborg and Barrick, just to scarp. Look at that, look at the gap. But VR knows we've got the absolute race pace to catch back up to NATO should he pass, so I think he's desperate to stay ahead.
And look who's in behind them, sniffing around, looking for any opportunity. Nuerburgring's right in behind these two. And if there's any contact, anything going on, look at them, they're almost three, like one by one, almost touching down the straight.
You can throw a blanket over these drivers as NATO makes a mistake. And will it allow Braham through? It's going to allow Braham through. Braham is through. NATO makes the crucial mistake at a crucial time. And Braham is through. Through the final corner he comes and gets a great exit as well. Look at that for an exit. Beautiful. Hitting a late apex and Braham is through. He'll love that. And VR will love it also as well because that allows him a little bit of a breather, perhaps get his rhythm back.
I was just saying that any mistake from those Team Portugal guys will allow Braham through, and it's happened right in front of us. And Braham was very opportunistic there. Excellent driving from Braham to scoop that opportunity up and grasp it with both hands.
Mystic Toby.
Taking the position.
Mystic Toby predicted that, and Tolborg is gaining slightly on Van Dorn, but not anywhere near enough it seems. Barrick is 1.6 seconds back from Tolborg, so that gap has opened up a little bit more. But this is the battle we're concentrating on at the moment because it looks like Braham has gained on VR quite a bit also as well.
It does.
The gap was definitely bigger than that, wasn't it?
It was.
Sizably so.
I think Braham, straight out of the pits, he had maybe a little bit colder tyres or something, because he was definitely dropping back, but now he looks a lot more racy than he did. And remember that NATO's tyres will be one lap older as well.
Oh, one lap younger.
One lap younger as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
This battle. Oh, Braham goes wide in the hairpin, just about got the car back into the apex. You can do that there, but you can't do it too much else you miss the camber, and then you just ruin your exit completely. And of course it is a long exit because you go all the way up this hill, and it's important that you keep the speed up.
That camera
quickly check through the field for you. As we go through, there is Amaral, and here is Gonçalves. That's 7th and 8th for you. 9th is Domingo Fast, so he's got himself to the head of that. Richard Blaine is in 10th. 11th is Lucchese, 12th is Nelson, 13th is Lasky, 14th is Cayado, 15th is Khan, so they're not making the progress that you would expect. They're quite strung out now as well. 16th is Barbosa, 17th is Elio Lucchese, 18th here, Robert Isles, 19th Darius Swiderski, 20th is Paul Wood. He's in a battle here with Duarte Lopez, 22nd is Marco Carver, 23rd is Gary Lennon, not sure what's happened to him. Perhaps he's made a mistake in the pit. He often does that. he's amusingly known for his pit stop blunders. And 24th is Mathieu Jaminet. But Van Dorn is leading commandingly, leading by some 3.5 seconds, well, 3.3 seconds. So actually, Tolborg's gained half a second on that lap.
There's only a couple of laps left as well.
3 laps to go. Yeah.
So
should be okay.
Yeah, so Van Dorn should be okay, but he did lose 7/10 in that lap. So he's got to be a little bit careful. That he's obviously taking it easy, making sure he gets to the end of the race, but he's got to be a little bit careful. And
that's very mature, isn't it, as well?
It is.
There's one accusation from spectators and other drivers alike. Perhaps Van Dorn hasn't got the maturity to see how to race win. Maybe he'll make a mistake. What happens if he's in traffic? But this is showing a very mature drive, isn't it?
It is, and it'd be interesting to see whether he can maintain that 3.3 now, or whether he'll let it drop all the way. If it was me now, I'd have done my settling down after the pits, and I'd like to pick up my pace, make sure I keep the gap around 2 to 3 seconds, just in case I make that slight error that costs me that 1 or 2 seconds.
And this is the biggest battle track at the moment. Everyone's quite strung out after the pit stop, actually. But this is the big battle. This is the battle for 4th. This has big championship implications because Braham is quite a way back in the championship now, and has perhaps not conceded the championship, but definitely going to struggle to make his way up because he's not won a race in season 2, unfortunately. The final race of season 2 at Mondello Park. He didn't win all in season 3. He's always had lots of podiums though. He's looking for his first win for a long time, so maybe he can get one in race 2. A lot of people have been rooting for him to do so. But Van Dorn is lead Tolborg, Barrett in 2nd and 3rd, of course. They are both 2nd and 3rd in the championship as well. First in the championship is VR, so he'll want to keep this 4th position because it's very important for the championship indeed. And of course, NATO is not very far behind the championship either. If he can get some consistent results together.
Braham's got a little bit of a run on VR. What I would say about VR is that it doesn't really matter where he comes in the top 8. He'll still have a better start. Braham on the outside. Will he make a move?
Oh, it's very, very close. VR just about giving Braham a little bit of room. You can really tell that these guys are used to racing together, and they're real pros because they just give each other the exact amount of room, don't they, Toby?
Just right up to the white line, and that's how it should be. You don't want to give your competitor anything more than you need to. You want to keep him right on the edge, keep him just expecting the unexpected, really, and you want to be not predictable if you want to defend successfully, and it keeps your opponent guessing, and means that you can't make a safe, decisive move as easily as you would otherwise. And that's what these guys are doing, and it's working very effectively for VR at the moment. It doesn't look like he's got the quickest pace of the three. You would say Braham looks like he's got a slightly racier car at the moment.
We've seen this so many times throughout Season 3. He's so difficult to pass. Incredibly difficult to pass. You just cannot get past this driver. He drives so quickly and so precisely and defends so well without ever being ultra defensive, it seems, that he just can't get past this driver. Once he gets ahead of a driver, no one seems to be able to get past him. I think we only saw perhaps one overtake on him all last season.
What's crucial about his defence is that he only
Braham pushing
hard, so close. But the thing about VR's defence is that he only defends when he needs to. He doesn't defend thin air. As soon as you defend thin air, then you leave yourself open on the exit.
And the greatest exponent I've ever seen of that, of a touring car driver, Jason Plato, always drives his lines, except when it's absolutely necessary just to drive down the inside of the track. And it pays off.
It does, and that's why he's so successful, and that's why VR's so successful. He was actually a little bit unlucky not to win Season 2, I felt. Talbot obviously very impressive at Bathurst in the end.
Talbot, of course, remember, had a desync at one of the races. So,
yeah, that's true. But VR really did show excellent pace throughout the season. And,
absolutely.
Of
the top 3, none of them would have been an unworthy champion. No doubt about that.
Here we go. By the way, 3 line astern.
once again, the old throwing a blanket motif comes to mind, and this time VR is leaving a bit of a gap. He's tempting Braham, tempting. You can almost see the temptation on the face of Yuri Braham's Honda there. He just decided against it at the end, almost like VR were just holding out a sweet to a little kid there. The kid realising that actually his teeth might rot in old age, and deciding against having a sweet.
The thing that'll be going through Braham's mind whilst Ryan's making up excellent analogies is that he won't have wanted to make that move on that lap because he wants to be in the slipstream on the final lap, which is what we're on now.
Nato! Nato's got his nose at the inside. This is what's going to cost Braham having a challenge at VR. Surely, no. Nato. Oh, he just managed to fend off Nato then. Nato just didn't quite have the room to do anything with it. He was so close. VR so slow at mid corner there. I thought Braham was going to hit him.
Yeah, Nato was sticking his nose really where it didn't belong there. It was nearly catastrophic for him and Braham. They both managed to get through there unscathed. But Nato obviously feeling that he has the right to be ahead of Braham. It's interesting that Talbot really hasn't gained that much on Van Dorn. So Van Dorn's picked up his pace ever so slightly, or Talbot's dropped back. So it looks like this one's definitely going to be sewn up by Van Dorn.
Look at the gap back to Keith though, 6.6 seconds. I mean, both Talbot and Van Dorn have brained Keith after this. Wide on the curbing. Braham is going to go wide. Oh, he's got it back. How did he do that? How did he keep that car?
I have
to the
no
apex?
idea. He seemed to take way too much entry speed in through there. This is where Braham needs to stay really, really close to the back of VR.
Close to VR. Never mind stay on track. That's unbelievable.
Look, here we go. He's going to have a look.
He's having to go here. He's gone for the surprise move down the inside. After the Schumacher race, it's contact. They're both off. Braham sideways. Nato's through. VR comes back on. Braham is back to 6th. Nato is the winner. And this is one of the rare occasions where Nato has held back and come out on top. VR's back to 5th. He will be very sore about that indeed. But it's cost Braham also as well. It was a surprise move, a difficult move, and perhaps VR could have afforded a little bit more room. Perhaps Braham equally could have backed off. But it looks like Nato has taken advantage of all that. And that just shows, doesn't it, Toby? The patience that Nato showed then has just paid off. The winner of the race, after all that, has been Stoffel Vandoorne in his first race, I guess, in the ATCC, really. His championship has just started, and he's won the race commandingly by 2 seconds from Jesper Torborg. Third, Keith Barrick, some way back, 7 seconds back. Really struggled after the pit stop, it seemed. Fourth, Miguel Neto. Fifth, Francisco Villar. Sixth, of course, Yuri Brehan. We're following that battle all the way through. Seventh was Amaral. Eighth, and pole position once again, Hugo Gonçalves for the second race. No wonder he's got his lights on. He's very pleased indeed with that. Ninth place, Reggie Blaine. So what happened to Domingos Vaz then? Because he was in ninth. He's dropped way back. Made a mistake somewhere. But Blaine got that ninth in the end. 10th was Lucchese. 11th was Caiado. So we had a good charge through in the end. 12th was Vincent Kahn. 13th was Domingos Vaz. 14th was Lasky. 15th Barbosa. 16th Lennon. 17th Lucchese. Elio Lucchese, that is. 18th Robert Isles. 19th Swiderski. 20th Duarte Lopez. 21st Paul Wood. 22nd Michael Carver. And 23rd, here will come Gary Lennon to finish the race. Very lonely 23rd. Looks like some damage there perhaps in his car. Not sure what happened to him. Maybe he blundered in the pit stops once again. Is he missing the front end of his car? Can't quite see through the graphic there. But just sum up that final bit of action there for us between Braham and VR, Toby.
What it was Braham got a better exit through the Schumacher S by quite some distance actually. He was right up onto the bumper of Villa, and Villa was surprised by that, went to cover, went to the inside, and as we were saying, he only leaves just enough room, he only defends when he needs to. He needed to defend, and he only just left enough room. And Braham was expecting more of a gap, went too late on the brakes, went into the side of Villa. They were both sideways, right off the track, and Neto, as you were saying, he was calm and collected, wasn't making a silly move. He was trying to make a move into turn 1 on Braham, but that didn't work, so he backed off. And those two making the mistake, they were all the way off the track, and he managed to nip through, take the position, take fourth, and that'll put VR in fourth on the grid. So you expect VR to make a good jump at the start now, so we'll watch out for that.
He would indeed, and he's got, of course, Amaral and Gonçalves ahead of him once again. This happened at Watkins Glen, and it ended up with Amaral actually rolling the car as he tried to go down the inside. He tried to turn it to the side of VR at Watkins Glen, and the motion of the car then went sideways. And as the track drops away down towards the tyre barrier, it just flipped his car over. It was quite a very strange accident indeed for Amaral. So you'll be hoping he doesn't have to do that once again. But we're now going towards the second race. There's a standing start here, of course, Toby. Who's going to win?
I'd put money on VR from here. He's going to get a good start, I think, in the rear-wheel drive BMW. He's got more traction with the rear-wheel drive in the wet. I'd expect to see him leading into turn 1, and if he isn't, I'll be very surprised. And I think based on that, he'll be able to have enough pace to gap the field. Stoffel Vandoorne, obviously back in 8th, he'll have a good start as well in the BMW. But I don't know whether he'll have enough pace to come through to the front. But we'll see. I mean, I'd put my money on VR from here.
If Vandoorne can get a good start and get up towards maybe 4th position, I'd have a couple of cars between him and VR. I would fancy Vandoorne catch VR over the race distance.
Yeah.
Just because of the extra pace that Vandoorne seems to be showing. But there's from our expert Toby Davis. He reckons a VR win.
Yeah, well, what do I know?
Hey, you're leading the WTM prediction game, so
yeah,
can't
that's
be too
pure
bad.
luck. and a bit of arrogance as well. I predicted myself to win when I actually genuinely think that I wasn't going to, and it's
Peter Davillard did that as well, and we all know what happened there. He won the championship. Always predicting when he would do well. He predicted he would do well at Trois Rivières, didn't he, Toby? And Toby decided that he didn't like that. No, I'm kidding. I'm just going to leave the teasing now because the grid are forming up. Gonçalves is on pole position once again, and we are going to see the lights very soon here.
Watch Via is the second car back on the left,
and we've got Vandoorne, the 4th car back on your left. Watch for those two. There's a big gap, isn't there? It's a nice wide circuit for those good starts.
Yeah, watch those two come through in the BMWs. Here we go, Callan.
And away from the grid they go. Gonçalves with a good start. Look at them trying to desperately for traction. VR with a poor first start, but got a good secondary start. And it's Vandoorne who's got the best start. He's already up to 3rd, and VR defends aggressively. Vandoorne is already challenging around the outside, but the two BMWs are already at the front of the field, and Vandoorne's very brave on the brakes. Vandoorne takes the lead. Vandoorne's going to take the lead. No! VR's coming back at him. will Van Dorn have the inside here? He does! Van Dorn's gone from 8th to 1st in the first 2 corners. Stoffel Van Dorn, what a superb start from there. A new superstar is born. 3rd place is Nato. What a great start for him also as well. 4th place is Gonçalves. 5th is Torbog. 6th is Barrick. He's got Braham challenging him. 8th is Pedro Amaral. He's got a terrible start, gone way back in the field.
It was, what do I know? Van Dorn straight up to the front of the field. And Via obviously making a good start as well. Obviously in the wet conditions the rear wheel drive helps even more. But Reggie Blaine, look, we're looking at him with some battling cars around him. Andre Caiado there and Domingos Vaz. And it'll be interesting to see if he can hold off the 2 Portuguese drivers. But an excellent start from Van Dorn.
All 3-4 wide at the back. All 3-4 wide at the back. This Vaz. Swiderski with a great start also as well. He's come up through the field. He's up to 12th now.
Yeah, it's all about BMW's rear wheel drive.
Let's go back to the front of the field. We'll show you gains that people have made. If I press the right button, we go towards the front of the field. And Van Dorn leads commandingly already. Van Dorn already with almost a second lead over his BMW counterpart. And again, it's VR with Nato right in behind. Nato must be sick at the back of that BMW. But challenging behind. Gonçalves is challenging Torbog. He's challenging Gonçalves. Oh, sideways. Torbog gets out of shape. And Gonçalves manages to hold on to that position just about. Torbog got Barrick right in behind him. And of course Braham right behind those guys. Let's quickly show you the gains that people have made in this. Apparently Van Dorn's not made any gains whatsoever, which is a complete lie. He's made 7 positions up in fact. VR has made 2 positions up. Oh, it's all changing all the time. Actually, this is not very reliable. This graphic, is it? Let's turn that off.
Gonçalves and Torbog, look.
Torbog,
here goes Barrick. Here comes Braham, 3 wide.
Braham 3 wide into the final corner. All 3 Flying Dutchman development Hondas into the final corner, and around the outside trying to go Barrick, but now Braham was the inside down towards the first corner.
Barrick was caught out a little bit there, and Braham looks like he's got the inside of the pair of them, but of course Torbog's drafting Barrick.
Torbog's drafting Barrick, so helping Barrick all the way down the straight, and Torbog's breaking as late as he dares to try and hold off Braham, and he's done it. Superb teamwork there from the FDR Candem guys, because Braham looked for all the money that he would go through.
He should have gone through, but that's what happens when you get 2 teammates together. They help each other out. Here, and a surprise move here from Barrick on Gonçalves. Is this going to work? He's on the inside. He's got the overlap.
He's got the overlap, but now it's inside next for Gonçalves. Runs over the curb as he tries to give Barrick some room, but now Barrick has the inside down towards the next S's, the Audi S's.
Yeah, he's got the inside. He's got it done.
Definitely got it done. But look at Torbog, Predator as always, trying to go through also. He's done it! Torbog through. Braham can't take advantage, as is often the case. 2 guys can go through, but the 3rd guy just cannot. But Braham's now trying to go get the exit down into the hairpin.
He's going to have to make a dive here. He wants to get past these guys and get in behind the FDR Candem guys. Here we go.
Thought about it. Decided not to, then decided to, then decided not to.
Yeah,
already Van Dorn, look at that lead, 2.1 seconds.
Oh, it's just been immense so far this weekend at Nürburgring. It's been a Van Dorn domination.
Absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see whether he can carry that through for the rest of the season. Actually,
what does Van Dorn stand for? I'm pretty sure it's Belgium for domination.
I like it.
Even though this is Flemish and French, I'm sorry I called it Belgian. Then I'm going to get told off.
No.
Contact! Braham is off. He's in the grass. It was side by side with Gonçalves. Gonçalves didn't give him enough room. Whether Gonçalves saw him or not, I'm not quite sure. But Braham put himself in that position. It was not. And he's in, of course, it's a bad position to rejoin the track as well. He's had to go right across the gravel. He couldn't even come back in the middle of the corner. He's had to go right across the gravel and let everybody through. So that's very unlucky there for Euro Braham. On the second lap, he's back to what position is that? Way about 21st in the field. 22nd is Michael Carver. He's got Jaminet, Carver, and Barbosa behind him only.
Nato and Via are battling really close at the front of the field. They were almost side by side just then. I saw briefly.
Oh, he's through.
And, Nato is through
on Via. So can Nato do anything about Van Dorn? This is the big question now. Nato, the winner at Watkins Glen, the RDTCC Season 6 champion. What has he got for Van Dorn? Season 7 champion even, should I say?
Yeah, Season 7. Season 8 now, isn't it? But
it is indeed.
Yeah, in the ATCC, Nato has been very strong of late, and whether he can carry that through. It is wet conditions, and Van Dorn has been absolutely dominant. Look at that, 14.7. It's just that is
a fantastic lap.
Pace has been ridiculous. That's nearly a full second quicker.
Lap.
That's nearly a full second quicker.
That puts him 7th on the grid.
Season. Yeah,
puts him 7th on the grid. That's quite phenomenal. And Barrick is in 4th. He's got Torborg right behind him, so those two have swapped over. Oh, Barrick sideways once again. I think Barrick is struggling with tyre wear here at this event because he really struggled in the second part of the race last time around. Really dropped off from Torborg, and I fancied Torborg to get past him at some point, but Gonçalves has got Blaine right behind him now, so this battle is heating up also as well. Blaine up in 7th. He's having a very strong weekend indeed. He got 9th in the first race. He's challenging for 6th here.
It's Gonçalves a little bit out of position actually because of the reverse grid, and we're watching him drop back through the field a little bit, and Blaine will want to get through relatively quickly. We saw Blaine having an excellent qualifying session before the first race, so he's obviously got a decent amount of pace here, and he's right in behind Gonçalves. He needs to get in that slipstream down the long back straight and into the V-Dol chicane.
Gonçalves did beat Blaine in the first race. Oh, and here we are again. This always a carbon copy of where Braham's position was, but this time Gonçalves was able to see where the Honda was and give him some room.
Yeah, it's almost identical incident. You're absolutely right. It's Gonçalves coming across, taking the racing line as he's perfectly allowed to do. I actually think he left the car's width as well.
He's going defensive, and Reggie's right in behind Amaral there as well. There is Lasky and Swiderski. Oh, and Blaine, perfect line through there, using all of the curb that is allowed. And he's just menacing it behind Gonçalves. Oh, Gonçalves has gone deep. He's going to get the run off the corner, get momentum, so he should be okay. Blaine is getting the slipstream immediately. A little bit slow getting in the slipstream there, perhaps. And now he's going to be under attack from Amaral.
Yeah, Blaine should have been right in behind Gonçalves there, and Amaral taking. Oh, and look at this!
Lasky
on the inside, Lasky!
Lasky down the inside. Oh, Blaine sees him coming. Lasky goes through, takes both of them. They're both sleeping.
They were both absolutely asleep there, both completely zonked out, and Lasky's just completely taken advantage. An excellent move, really, from Lasky. They were too busy having their own little duel. Oh, contact!
Blaine, Amaral, Swiderski's around. He's got a hit from
Vass is involved.
Swiderski. Oh, and there's Swiderski spinning around, trying to recover, still sideways. And Elio Lucchese's come through and taken a couple of positions there also as well. And Vath is allowing Swiderski back through, but he might still be in trouble from the stewards for that. 3.1 seconds of gap between Nato and Van Dorn, so Van Dorn is still braining Nato even when it's the Portuguese in behind him, so it seems like Van Dorn's got this race sewn up once again already.
Yeah, look at that, 3.3 seconds.
But just talk us that into quickly again. I mean, obviously we can't do a replay, but it all started really with Lasky taking advantage of Blaine.
And then they came to sort of blows a little bit of contact. It sort of sent Vass got confused. They were all just confused, I think. A little bit of bumping. Obviously, Swiderski in the rear-wheel drive car couldn't hold it, and he got turned around.
Very nice pirouette, wasn't it?
By Vass. I think Vass was a little bit asleep, not realising that people ahead of him were slower, and got into the back. But it was a nice pirouette. He did a nice 360.
It looked like he was in the cast of Black Swan then, for half a second. And
that's what happened when you do drama.
No need
you
for
come
that.
out with comments like that.
That was a low blow. So he's the recovery is in 13. No need for that, Toby. I think
right.
Anyway,
13.
Lennon is being challenged. Oh, it's Nelson. Sorry, being challenged by Amaral. Or the other way around actually. Nelson is challenging Amaral. Nelson tried to go on the outside. That's not going to work. That's a bit of a naive move from Nelson. He just thought he'd try it. It didn't work, and of course now Lennon's going to go through. Oh no, Lennon's gone into the pits, so he will go through kind of in a way. That's a very is that a pass or not? He's not quite sure.
I don't know. I wonder if Lennon thought it might be a pass and then remembered he was pitting.
But perhaps
I've done that sort of thing before.
Oh,
look, they're nearly into the back of each other.
And in the pits they all come. Who's into the pits? I couldn't quite see which guys were in the pits and which weren't. Of course, it's difficult when everyone's passing. There we are.
Look like
Blaine's in, but nobody from the top guys are in. Sorry,
no,
press one button again.
Just Blaine, really.
Just Blaine is in. Very slow pit stop there, it seemed, for Blaine, but it slowed down a bit early. And out of the pits, into the pits, sorry, because Robert Isles. There's Hugo Barbosa also as well. And Blaine's away already. And who's that coming out? That's Amaral coming out, and Elio Lucchese. And Swiderski. I think Swiderski has jumped Elio Lucchese. I'm sure Elio was ahead of him. And we've got the same scenario as I had with VR and Barrick. Swiderski getting a good run out of the pits, but Lennon felt there's no need to defend heavily there, not as heavily as Barrick did anyway. Much calmer that time around. And Alessio has got past Elio. So the two Lucchese brothers.
Yeah, they're right beside each other.
And Here's Van Dorn, still leading 3.7 seconds. Unbelievable pace from Van
He doesn't
Dorn.
need to pit just yet. He's got so much pace over NATO. He might as well wait and take the tyres towards the end of the race. Make sure he's got better pace at the end.
This is the biggest battle at the front of the field at the moment. This is Barrick and Torborg. On board with Barrick, looking back at Jesper.
And they are battling, like, genuinely now, because they're so close in the championship. They are genuinely having a battle right now. This is
might be friends on circuit, but there's nothing given on track, is there?
Absolutely. Those two will be having a serious job right now.
There from Torborg,
and he's right in behind as well. He's actually done it too well.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got the slipstream. He's gonna
great minds, Toby.
He's gonna push Barrick into the chicane and hope he outbreaks himself. Oh, look at this!
Oh no,
he's dropped back.
Oh no, he backed off just before. I thought that was the corner. Then obviously
they must be onto I can imagine Barrick screaming down the microphone.
Yes, believe me,
I'm coming into the pits. There's no point.
Jesper's like, I'm sorry, Keith. I stayed on. And
Keith comes in though.
You pit. I carried on. And Torborg is coming. Torborg is going past. So that'll be interesting to see whether Torborg can jump Keith, because Keith struggled after the pit stop. So if Torborg can jump Keith, and that will be very important indeed. NATO's into the pit stalls as well, but VR and Van Dorn carry on.
So this is the first round of serious pit stops. So VR carrying on, Van Dorn carrying on.
Vincent Kahn staying out once again.
Yeah.
Did it work for him in the first race?
No,
See if it works this time around.
Why would it work? If it hasn't worked in the first race, Vincent, why are you doing it again?
I don't know.
Else.
He's a crowd favourite though, after all the unluckiness. Is that a word?
Bad luck, I would say.
All the bad luck, that's better. Bad luck he's had in the previous races. Obviously doing very well with my wordsmithing today, aren't I? 6th place Richard Blade, 7th place is no, that's not right. He just did this last race, all the time went wrong. It's very confusing for me. It's like
it's when they're coming out of pits, look.
Yes. And anyway, NATO is actually in there, it's all sorted itself out now. There's NATO in 6th and Barrick in 7th, so they're still about the same. The gap looks about the same also as well. But the big question is Torborg and VR. Where will they come out? Will VR jump NATO? Will Torborg jump Barrick? I would say that it's more likely that Torborg jumps Barrick than VR jumping NATO, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see. Obviously, fresher tyres will give him the undercut, but Barrick will have a lap older tyres once Torborg comes into the pit. So
it's the balance there, Barrick. That's the thing, though. On the outlap.
Yeah, well, that's true as well. That's true as well. We've seen in the dry that the undercut, the better thing to do is take that fresh rubber. It does give you a slight edge, but in the wet, it's a different story. Obviously, balance is much more key than overall grip. Just as soon as you're sideways, especially when you've got a front-wheel drive car, you take fronts. Obviously, gives you more front bites. As soon as you're sideways, you're throwing away time. So. It will I mean,
you've been in this position before, Toby, racing Jesper Torborg, and you've just pitted, and you're waiting for him to pit, and you're driving around worrying about where he's going to come out, whether he's going to come out ahead of you or next to you, or even behind you.
The worst thing you can actually do in that situation is worry about someone else. You want to focus on hitting your lines, hitting your apexes, and making sure you absolutely nail your outlap on your first few laps. In comes Sauberg.
They're all
Van Dorn as well.
Pushing hard as well. I wouldn't push quite that hard if I were you, Van Dorn.
No, me neither. No point.
No point.
5.6 over VR though. Look how much he's gained.
I know. He's actually lost 0.4, it seems, in just in that braking zone. So maybe he was taking it easy. Maybe I was being a bit harsh. Anyway, Torborg comes to a stop, and this is the key area because these are the two drivers they're racing. NATO was in second. He did have a decent gap over VR, but will it count? And Barrick was right just ahead of Torborg. We saw that they were completely together. And now Gonçalves is in the pit stalls as well. Vincent Kahn is also in the pit, so he'll be passed by everybody else as well. But Torborg is coming out, and here comes Barrick, and Barrick's going to pass him easily, it seems. There's a big gap, look at that.
Yeah,
big gap.
Huge gap. They were nose to tail, remember, when they came into the pit. So
absolutely.
That undercut does work.
There's a big gap between VR and NATO as well, bigger than it seemed before, and it looks like Barrick has gained on VR.
This could be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if
Dia's
got the pace to hold off Barrick.
Yeah.
Because Barrick needs to get ahead.
Battle. 3rd, 4th and 5th is championship battle, remember.
Yeah, exactly. Barrick needs to get ahead of VR for the championship hunt. VR leading coming into this doubleheader at the Nürburgring by 5 points. So.
Sorry, Tom, but the key thing we were talking about last race, weren't we, was the consistency for NATO. The consistency. Can he get 2 good results in a row? And he's doing that this time around. He's making up for... he had a win in an 8th last time around, which is great to have a win, but then he had the 8th, didn't he? This time around he got 2nd and a 4th, it seems, at the moment.
He's
that's
in prime
key
position.
To a championship charge.
It is, absolutely. He's in prime position to take a 2nd position. He's got a good couple of seconds over over Via, and that's what NATO needs really, is clean air. That's how he works best in clean air. Like it or not, he doesn't really like having battles with other people. He seems to drop off the pace a little bit. He's in clean air, he's in fresh air. He'll be able to put the hammer down. I know he's not leading, but he should be able to secure second place. This is where he's strong. So it'll be interesting to see if he does gap them.
Torborg is 1.7 seconds behind Keith now, so he had a very, very poor pit stop and in-lap. Not quite sure what went wrong there. 1.7 seconds is an extortionate amount, even with the undercut. Maybe Keith was just blazing through his outlap. Blaine is in 6th. He's got Lasky behind him. Looks like Lasky's gaining a little bit on his sister teammate. Yes, 0.8 of a second is now the gap. It was 1.5.
Blaine was very, very sideways when we saw him just now. And I think that was probably contributed to the mistake. Look how much he's gaining on him, actually, is Lasky. So this will be interesting. See how this hots up.
And then here is in 8th, with a lonely 8th. But in behind we've got quite a big battle. Nelson and Amaral. Well, actually Lennon is not that lonely. He's just ahead of this group. But Amaral, Braham, recovering, of course, from the contact he had with Gonçalves. And Gonçalves is behind him now. So Gonçalves had a poor run somewhere. Gonçalves was running well earlier on. Now he's way back.
I wonder if he did the slick tyre thing that you were talking about a little bit earlier on.
I would doubt it, because he'd have to have pitted again, and he'd be much further back than that. So that's
how much
not
time
far back
would you
enough.
lose? Because it's 50%. It's slamming into the back of Alessio.
Smacked the back of Alessio Lucchese there. Braked a bit too late for the first turn. We know how easy that is to do, of course. Doesn't take any advantage, but that allows Vincent Kahn a bit of encouragement. Look, a bit of contact there.
Get off the back of him.
Leave him alone, Hugo. And Kahn is now taking advantage. Kahn's going down the inside. Kahn says, "Thank you very much. I'll take that. I've got the inside. You're not coming through." Bosch keeps the car at the apex. No room for Gonçalves to go through, and that's a beautiful pass, really is. Looks aggressive from here, but that's where Kahn puts his car perfectly in position, not out of control, and just doesn't allow Gonçalves any room to turn into the corner. And that's Gonçalves' own fault, quite frankly.
Yeah, he turned in when Kahn was there. It's absolutely no fault of Kahn.
Before that, he allowed Kahn to get close because of the contact with Lucchese.
Oh well,
slow down.
Yes, of course. My question to you, you know the game better than me. On 50% wet, how
you got no chance on flicks? Absolutely no chance. Yeah.
How much time would 10 seconds? Lap?
You would lose 4, 5, 6 seconds lap at least.
Oh, okay.
There's no way Gonçalves is on the six, because he's keeping up, isn't he? So no doubt about that. When Tolbert did it last year, and he had to piss again. You see.
Okay.
Yeah. And Nico Fath has DNF'd, unfortunately.
Doesn't look like there's any damage on his car, so
maybe he disconnected. It's not come up with a reason for his DNF.
No, well, it did. Yeah, but it didn't say. Oh, we weren't really paying attention. But normally it says at the top of the screen, doesn't it, when someone leaves the game?
It does actually, yes. Well, maybe I was actually left. Yeah, because his car got disconnected then.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure we'll find out in due course.
Let's concentrate on something else.
VR and Barrick, here we are. Close. Very close. He was 1/10 at sector 2.
Yeah, look, so
I think maybe Barrick's had to go into the final corner because the gap's come out again, hasn't it?
Yeah, so do I. I think into the Vedal chicane. Into the
VR's struggling badly,
Yeah.
No traction.
This is what I was saying, is can VR hold off Barrick? Barrick was looking very strong, wasn't he? And VR, remember VR's pace wasn't actually as good. He qualified in 5th position, didn't he? So obviously Barrick and Talbot were in 2nd and 3rd respectively. So they obviously have slightly better pace than VR at this stage, and VR with that excellent start was a little bit ahead of his position perhaps. So you'd expect Barrick to chase up to the back of him.
And Barrett's car looks much better in the second part of this race than it did the second race, doesn't it?
I wonder if he's got to tweak his setup, maybe tweak it for a little bit of understeer for the first part of the race, because as soon as you put those new tyres on, you get horrendous oversteer.
You do.
So maybe tweak the setup, make it slow in the first part, then quick in the second part. That's what he's done. You see, Van Dorn's pace has dropped off by over half a second as well since he's put new tyres on. And
here we go.
The balance change.
So
he's
close.
got the run.
Oh, we couldn't quite do it. We see that time and again, don't we? Where the BMW is wide on the exit. It looks like the front-wheel drive car's got the overlap, but then the momentum of the BMW just carries it down the straight.
It's not just
quite
momentum.
quick in the straight line as well.
It's the jump out of the corners because of that traction. It makes it so. That's why VR so. One of the reasons why VR is so difficult to overtake is that traction off the corners is always going to be better, no matter how worn his tyres are.
Look at this, right here behind. How close do you want to be? There is Keith, and look who's loving this. Torborg. Oh, it's Keith going on the switchback. Didn't quite do it hit two sideways. Will VR give him room? It does. Now this is where Keith needs to... VR, clever. A little bit slow on the apex, and Barrick unable to take any advantage. And look at how fast Torbog gained as a result.
That's one of my favourite tactics, actually. Just sit on the apex, nice and slow, make sure that they don't have the run, and then you control the exit of the corner, not them.
See how annoyed Keith is by that, actually, from the body language of the car, I think. You see how annoyed he is by that?
I know. We both know Keith very well, and he will have been very frustrated by that. I'm sure there's a few choice words going on.
There probably is, if not through TeamSpeak, at least in his head. And Keith is right in behind VR once again, but of course now he's got Torbog company, so he has to choose his moments carefully now.
That's actually very clever from VR. He might have... sometimes the best
got
form...
quite a big dent in the back of his car, hasn't he?
I know. It's but sometimes the best form of defence is just to get someone else to attack them.
Ruin the forward sign. Look at that. Terrible.
Yeah.
Some work for the BMW engineers afterwards. Replace the exhaust and everything.
Yeah. Still flame coming out of it, so it must be fine.
So Barrick has Torbog for company, but that means, of course, once you've got somebody close in behind you, you can't go gung ho, can you, for an attack?
That's what I was saying. What VR's done is instead of having to defend, is he's now put his attacker on the defence from someone else, and it means that he might be able to gap if Talbog's right in behind. Hopefully Barrick and Talbog are communicating with each other for their benefit. It means hopefully they'll be able to say to each other, just let's not battle, let's try and get him, let's go.
And Blaine and Lasky are very close still. Lasky's not managed to find a way past Blaine so far. Blaine is one of those other drivers who's difficult to pass, as we were detailing earlier. Oh, he's just missing the apex slightly though, giving Lasky plenty of encouragement.
Considering the last round, it's wise if Lasky doesn't take out his teammate here, I think.
That's very wise indeed. Because it's actually Blaine is the actual teammate in the championship itself for points. Oh, he almost hit the back of him there. I don't think it was Lasky's fault that Blaine looked a little slow. It was actually Blaine's teammate Khan that he took out. Even though they're all from the same stable, of course you can see from the different colours that they count towards different points in the championship. And it's Blaine and Khan that count together. Yeah,
with the maximum team size of two drivers, it means that even you can have sort of 4-car entries, but under 2 different team names. So that's how that one works.
A 10-car entry from Team Portugal. We've got 5 teams. It's unbelievable.
And therefore, by extension, 10 Portuguese drivers. Not all in server 1, we should add. There's a couple in. Is there a couple in server 2 now?
There is. I think actually one of them hasn't actually raced either. So I think there's only 9 overall, which is still plenty. I think there's maybe 7 in here.
Yeah. So there you go.
Oh, there's 8 left, I think, of course, because unfortunately we lost Diogo Lopez after some contretemps on track. And here is Lennon. He's under big attack here from Amaral. Where's Nelson gone? Because he's right behind. Here's Graham with a great run. Look at that. That was textbook. Oh, there's Nelson in behind. Sorry, I missed Nelson. There's Nelson in behind. And so these guys are battling very hard indeed. All 4 are Hondas. And all 4 should be good in the wet.
Look how early Lennon's gone defensive.
Lennon's gone defensive.
I love it.
Trying to break the slipstream.
There's absolutely no need to do so. There's no need to do so there, Gary.
Nowhere near close up anyway,
Get back,
surely.
Get back across.
Oh,
there we go.
Nelson down the inside of Amaral. Going to take advantage of Amaral and Braham battling, and Nelson's through. Oh, just fitted in the gap. Amaral tries to get it in just to get the overlap, but Nelson says, "Not on your life, sonny boy. That's mine." And Amaral would do well to hit Nelson, because Nelson is karate black belt.
There was completely different lines shown there by Braham and Nelson. It's where Nelson went narrow. Braham had a sweeping line into turn 2, and it's those sort of things where you can get a surprise contact. And
Lennon got a very strange lineup from Lennon. Very defensive indeed.
Yeah, it's defending thin air. This is what I was on about with VR.
He's now he's got under more pressure.
Yeah, he's putting himself under more pressure. Now there's the cutback
Torbog and Barrick. Torbog and Barrick are battling, and Torbog's got past Barrick. At the hairpin, Torbog's got past Keith Barrick, and Keith trying to stay on the outside through the Schumacher S's. You can't do that.
Contact!
That's Torbog. Torbog sideways. What on earth happened there? That's very strange indeed.
It looked. I suggest. I don't know.
The was on the outside. How was he able to make Talbot go sideways like that?
I suggest Talbot got sideways over the curb. Actually, I'm not sure there was contact.
I've never seen that before through there. Not in a touring car, at least, anyway.
Well, Keith was well away from Talbot. I have a feeling Talbot.
Keith was an actor by himself.
Oh, I know. I'd love to see that on again. Unfortunately, we can't.
You can't, unfortunately.
When I go back and watch that again, I have a feeling that Talbot just lost it all by himself. We'll see.
Barrick We will see. I have a feeling as well, because of the way Tarbog's car went, it can't have been Barrick's contact, because Barrick was on the other side. But it's the final lap. I forgot about that. Final lap. And actually, Stoffel van Dorn has taken his second win from 2 races. An absolute masterclass from Stoffel van Dorn. Superstar drive from him. NATO in second. Third is VR. Another strong result for him, defending from the guys behind. Fourth is Barrick. Fifth will be Tallborg. Sixth, coming across the line. Just is Blaine. Just less than a tenth ahead of his teammate Kane Lasky. 8th place was Gary Lennon, just about defending from Braham in the end. 9th place is Braham, as I said. 10th place is Amaral. 11th place is Nelson. So Amaral got past Nelson at the end. 12th is Vincent Kahn. 13th Hugo Gonçalves. 14th Caiado. Struggled here today. 15th place Alessio Lucchese. 16th Darius Swiderski. 17th was Robert Al, 18th place Elio Lucchese. 19th place Hugo Barbosa. 20th was Duarte Lopez. And 21st was Mathieu Jaminet. Very contrasting fortunes for his teammate. Mathieu coming at last and 21st in his races, and Stoffel van Dorn first. 22nd Michael Carver. 23rd eventually will finish poor Robert Iles. Looks like he's got plenty of damage on that car. Paul Wood, sorry, not Robert Iles. Robert Iles has already finished in 17th. Paul Wood looks like he's got plenty of damage on his car. 24th will be, unfortunately, Domingos Vath. We lost him earlier on. But a superb performance there from Van Dorn, Toby. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, he got the start, which really helped. He got that huge jump
Wonderful
with
start.
the BMW. It just came from nowhere, actually. I was watching the car of Via, watching where Via would get up to, and Via obviously getting up into first. And then Van Dorn sent one up the inside. Beautiful move. And once he'd done that, well, with his pace, the race was his. And we saw in race 1 he was absolutely dominant, and he was absolutely the same here. I mean, 10 seconds ahead of Keith, and Keith was in 4th. Well, that's impressive.
Beautiful drive, really was. A better drive he could not have hoped for, I would presume.
Yeah, I'm very, very impressed with that, especially since it's his first time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had the pace at Road America, didn't get pole position there. He got 3rd place on the grid, then disconnected in warm-up. Very unfortunate. That's why we were actually denied a classic race between the old BMW drivers, Lauritsen and Via and Van Dorn. But we'll hopefully get a word with the drivers now, as they'll pop down into our channel and have a little talk with us. First into the booth is Mr. Keith Barrick.
Hey, Ryan.
Keith, I mean, you had nothing to answer Stoffel van Dorn with. We must be fairly happy with your results. Solid.
Well, okay, for race 1, pretty pleased with. Couple times I had the opportunity to get by Jesper in turn 1 where he went a little deep, which is uncharacteristic of him, but I just was never close enough to take advantage of it. Was really happy with the 3rd place, with Jesper finishing 2nd and having Francisco and the other Team Portugal Team 1 behind us because of the team championship. I didn't have the pace in the second stint that Jesper did. A great run. Second race, I was pretty pleased with. I mean, Stoffel literally just schooled everybody. He just showed why he's a world-class driver. And I mean, he just came out here and literally dominated today. Pole, 2 fastest laps, 2 wins. So well done to him. But in race 2, I got to throw a big apology out to Jesper because I raced side by side where I shouldn't have been with him. And it was just I'd made a mistake. I got flustered. He went inside, and I just tried to hold the outside like I was racing for a position. And obviously we are, but being a teammate, I made a mistake, and he ended up hitting a weird curb and went off. So I mean, the results I'm happy with. I wish I wouldn't have done that. That's my only regret of this entire event.
Was there actually contact between you and Jesper through the Schumacher S, or was it just he lost it over the curb? Because it looked like he deflected off to the left and you were on the outside, so that didn't quite make sense to us. Well,
what happened was I shouldn't have been on the outside in the first place, and again I will continue to apologize to Jesper because I should have just conceded the spot. It was a frustrated error on my part, but when we were going through there, he was trying to hold the inside so tight as the car went up on the curb, the back end stepped out. And as the back end came around, I was to the outside of him. There was no contact, but as he tried to correct it, the curb was still there, and the car just kind of went into a quick, violent tail whip, and it sent him off, and he lost the position to me, which he should have had. So, again, yes, we're really sorry.
Unfortunately, that, of course, and well done on your results, Keith. They were pretty solid. And we're going to speak now to the dominant driver from this event. Stoffel, how did you do that?
Well, I didn't really expect it. I know I had quite a good pace, looking to the times from the last season's race. My qualifying didn't went like I expected because I didn't put the perfect lap together, but then in the races I seemed to get a really good pace. Just after the pit stop, it seems that the Honda is a little bit quicker. But the races were alright, and I pushed really hard to get these 2 victories because with the connection lost in Road America, I wasn't really happy with that. So really happy I could show my potential today in these 2 races.
You've taken your first 2 Touring Pro Series wins as well. I mean, and a pole position. I mean, of course, we saw VR struggling relatively. Of course, VR still got good results, but struggling relatively with the BMW. How did you manage to be able to handle the BMW in the wet? What did you do? Did you change anything in your driving style or in the setup, or what was it that gave you the ability to go so consistently quickly?
Well, especially the setup, I changed a little bit, but also especially after the first pit stop, I changed quite a lot my driving style because I changed my rear tires, and the car was quite a lot understeer because my front tire were completely gone, so I had to drift a little with the car.
It was excellent car control. We saw you have an excellent start in race 2 as well. What exactly is the secret behind a good start like that? Because you were alongside VR into turn 1. Obviously, the BMW is rear-wheel drive, so you're going to get a better jump. But it was interesting to see you come from 8th position to 1st by turn 1.
Well, I have a special technique for that, but I'm not going to tell it here.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you, Stoffel. Congratulations on your first 2 wins. That's superb. We're already into the Hall of Fame with those sort of antics, and we will look forward to seeing you at KW Super Speedway in a week's time. Hopefully, you can continue your form. And so, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on now quickly to the other BMW driver who got good results here today, Francisco Villar, racing for the first time from your temporary home in England. And, I mean, it was very much a case of getting ahead and then defending for you, it seems, in both of those races, Francisco.
Yes. Hello, Ryan. I don't know. I guess this place doesn't bring me any good luck. I don't know. I think I just had a bad day. I just couldn't focus at all. I don't know what was happening. So in the end, I am quite pleased with the result, to be honest, because looking at my pace, I was so slow. I was making mistakes every corner. So in the end, to get a 3rd and a 5th, it's a good result.
What were the difficulties you were finding with the BMW in these wet conditions, or was it just the track that you just don't get on with? Because I hate the track myself as well.
No, I don't think it was the track with the BMW. Yesterday I had so much better pace than today. I don't know. I just had a day off. I don't know what was happening. I couldn't focus. I was running on the 16s when I should have been running on the 15 lows. I don't know. I could blame the car, but it seems that I can't because Stoffel did a wonderful.
It's always annoying when somebody in the same car goes as fast as you.
Exactly. Congratulations to him. It was such a dominant victory, and he did perfectly.
And in race 1, we saw you having a little bit of an incident with Yuri Braham in the final stages of the race. I mean, what happened from your perspective? What happened there?
I think Yuri Braham tried to go to the spot, and then he probably missed the braking because the next thing I know, he just hit me on the door. So I think he just misleaded the braking. I think that was it.
It's a very diplomatic answer, VR.
Sorry?
And that was a very diplomatic answer. And but congratulations on your results today, because it gives you a strong basis in the championship once again. And
Thank you very much.
You keep moving forward, and very close to also Beric and Tob. I'm not sure how the championship will be actually. It will be very, very close indeed, because you all finished very close to each other in both races. Let's have a quick word now with Mr. Miguel Neto.
Hi, Ryan.
And Miguel, I mean, that was a very contrasting race to Watkins Glen. I mean, in Watkins you had a dominant win and then a scruffy, I would say, 8th place in the second race. This time around you were very patient, and got yourself a second and a fourth. You must be pretty pleased with yourself.
Yeah, very pleased with the results. The races are according to very well to me, especially the second one. For the first time in this championship and all the others, I start very well, and this is very important for the second race. I start fifth and opening the first turn in third. After this, the first race, I had a good pace, following Jasper and Barrick. The pace was similar, and after the pits, I lost a little bit of the contact. And when I think in sixth place, Yuri and Villa have a touch and grab the fourth place.
We saw in those races something we're not usually seeing from you. With all due respect, Miguel, we saw patience in these races.
Yeah, in the others too, but in these type of conditions, I have too much attention for the braking, the sideways. Yeah, a little bit more patient in these races than the others.
And it seemed to pay off as well. So congratulations to you, and that's again that keeps you right in the championship hunt. As we go towards the fourth round at KW Super Speedway. In fact, we'll be halfway through the season already next week. It's gone very quickly indeed. So thank you for your interview, Miguel. Now we'll move on
Ryan,
to...
thanks.
No problem. And we'll move on to the reigning champion, Jesper. Some of those races for us, Jesper, you seem to have a good run in the second race, especially the second half of the first race, I mean. In the first race, in the second half, you were very, very quick indeed. Did you feel you would ever catch Stoffel, though, or did you feel that Stoffel was pacing himself?
If I didn't make that many mistakes at the start, I probably could have a chance.
Mm-hmm. And then you had a big battle with Keith in the second race, and of course went sideways after in the Schumacher S. Just tell us what happened from your point of view.
Well, Keith made a mistake. I went on the inside, and then I just got on the curb, and the car got loose, and the rear was where we were.
Would you blame Keith for that?
A little bit.
Oh, tensions in the FDR Kandan camp.
And obviously, yes. But last time out, you were very strong at the Nürburgring, and it didn't quite work out for you then. Were you expecting a little bit better today, or was that all you were expecting?
I was expecting to get in front of Villa both races.
Okay, so are you happy with how it went, or?
Yeah, the first race 2, maybe not so much.
You sound a bit dissatisfied, Jesper. We go to KW Super Speedway next week, Jesper. You took a double win there last year. Are you going to do the same?
Probably. Got a nice setup.
Okay, I like the confidence. Excellent. So, thank you for the interviews, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks for entertaining us on track also as well. Congratulations to you all. You all got excellent results. And we'll see you in 1 week's time at KW Super Speedway at the same time, of course, at 2 GMT. Toby will join me for that also once again. Also in the week after that, we've got the final race of the World Touring Masters, and that's where Toby Davis and Jesper Tolborg, who are both in the channel here, will be going head to head for the championship there. And also another note on the just put you in on the championship standings. Just a quick math here from Keith, which is never particularly reliable, but we'll. Jesper apparently and Via are level on points in 259. Keith on 256. Stoffel already under 197, so he is definitely in the championship hunt already, despite missing the first 2 races and doing the third and fourth races in Server 2. So look out for him charging up through. And of course, NATO and Braham in behind close as well. Kaido had a poor session here, so he'll drop back quite a bit. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks, Ryan.
And we need
Thanks, Ryan.
just on the news for the Touring Pro Series, general Touring Pro Series news, we have a couple of R Factor 2 licenses to give away. One for the beta and 18 months, of course, online access, which is live at the moment. You can enter that. You can enter that competition by donating just €5 towards the Touring Pro Series, because we pay for all our own servers, of course for all the SimSync and the broadcast also as well. And just donating €5, you get one chance to win R Factor 2 as the game. And also if you contribute €20 should I say, you get 5 chances. So a bit of an extra chance there if you donate a little bit more towards the series and all the things we put on. Of course, we don't put on just ATCC. We put WTM, Clio's, World Super Deck Series, V8, AGTC. There's lots of them for you to watch. And also, we need to give a big thanks as well to Neil Tasker, because he has donated an R Factor 2 lifetime license towards the Touring Pro Series. So we'll be giving away that very soon in the competition as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And a big thanks to him, of course. So thank you guys for entertaining us on track. Thank you to Toby for joining me.
No problem. It's been entertaining as usual. We'll be back at KW Speedway, and I'm sure we'll have just as much entertainment there. And
thank you to all the viewers, both at TouringProSeries.com and our forums, our excellent forums at Race Department. Thank you to everyone who's watched, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. 1 week's time, sorry. 1 week's time we'll see you at KW Super Speedway next week. Thank you.
Bem, bora ali acima, Miguel.
Bora.
Estamos aqui a conversa com os nossos amigos.